Welcome to Resilience Unravelled. I'm your host, Dr. Russell Thackeray. This podcast is a result of my fascination with health issues, resilience, performance, mental health, accountability and critical thinking, along with many of the other obsessions I bump into in my life. I spend my time working with highly successful teams, organisations and people, and this podcast introduces their remarkable stories, as well as my synthesis of the key issues, tips and strategies to thrive in life. If you find this podcast useful, you can also find other information at qedod.com or russellthackeray.com. Stay tuned to the end for details of how to order a free ebook. Enjoy the podcast. So today I'm talking to Rachel Papworth about a subject that I'm very passionate about, in the sense that I don't do it and I know nothing about it, and I'm renowned as being the opposite of what Rachel is good at. So I'm really looking forward to this, because I think not only will you learn loads, but I think I'm really sort of motivated to think that I might learn tons as well. So good morning, Rachel.
Hello.
And I immediately notice an English voice on the line.
Yes, we're both in the UK. Both of us very used to talking to people across the pond, I think.
We are, aren't we? Shouting really loudly. those antisocial hours, where you have to be awake at 11 o'clock at night or 12 o'clock because that fits into somebody else's schedule. Hey-ho.
We did have quite a funny conversation trying to set this up, didn't we? Where we were like, what time zone are you in? What time zone are you in? Oh, the same one.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shocker, really. What it means, civility in the morning. So whereabouts in the UK are you then?
I'm in lovely sunny Brighton on the south coast.
Right. And I'm near sunny Southampton. So there you go. We're only
far away.
The irony is we're about 40 miles away. So there you go.
Yeah.
So Rachel, so thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning and talking to this community of mine around resilience, but around your subject and how that links together. Well, how would you describe what it is you do?
Oh, thanks for having me on, Russell. What I do is I liberate busy people from the shackles of clutter and chaos to give them peace of mind and productivity.
Wow, that's very onomatopoeic. I like that whole auditory thing. So my shackles and the clutter and clatter are great. How about chaos as well? So tell me how you got into this. How you got into this thing? How did you get into this thing you do?
Yeah, it's a wild story actually, because it brings together loads of different aspects of my personality. If I start at the very beginning, I've always loved organising. I've always loved going into a chaotic space and bringing order to it. If I walk into a charity bookshop and I'm looking for a book, ones where they actually put things in alphabetical order, and I see a book that's out of order, I can't help myself. I have to put it back into order. Everywhere I've ever worked, I find myself tidying the kitchen.
Yeah.
I just love to do it. I used to help my brothers to get organised, and I also love what makes us tick. And I did a psychology degree, so I've got a psychology background, and I've done loads of coaching and personal development training. And I have lived now in my house. I've now lived here for about 20 years, and I'd lived here for probably about 7 or 8 years. I was beginning to run out of space, even though I live in a 3-bedroom house with a loft. I got into buying vintage clothing for swing dancing, and I was running out of places to put it. I had a dress rail in the spare bedroom blocking the view of the mirror because I had so many clothes. And I was like, oh, how has this happened to me? Like, I'm someone who loves decluttering and organising. How has that happened? And the answer to how it's happened is, if you don't keep on top of it, in this affluent society in which we live, where stuff comes at you all the time, it will get out of control. And so I totally decluttered my entire house. And that was just about before the recession hit. And I've been self-employed my whole life. I love working for myself. And the business I was running got really badly hit by the recession, and I needed to find a different way to make money. So I did a course on what is your thing, what is your heart's thing that you could bring to the world that the world needs from you because it's your thing. Oh. And every single thing in the course said, you have to be a professional organiser, which I didn't know was a thing at the time, by the way. I didn't know that term, professional organiser. I called it a decluttering coach. Right. I didn't want it to be that. That was like, I was like, no, it can't be that side of my personality, because I'd actually started hiding that side of my personality from the world for fear of being laughed at, for being OCD, or, you've got too much time on your hands if you've got your spices in alphabetical order, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
The message was really clear. So I had to get out there, and I did it, and I actually sort of tried to launch my business in secret at first. I didn't really want anyone to know I was doing it, which doesn't really work. But luckily, of course, everybody's reaction when I tell them about it is fascination, and people either say, "Oh my God, I really need you," or they say, "My mum really needs you," or "My friend really needs you," or "My next door neighbour really needs you," or everybody knows somebody who's really struggling with this stuff. Most people are struggling with it themselves. So not only do I now do, like for a living, do something that's so much fun that I love so much that I would do it for free if I didn't need to make a living, but I also shout about an aspect of my personality that I'd come to hide and not be proud of, and now I'm really proud of it. So it's been really good for my mental health, as well as me being able to give to the world what is my true gift to the world.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you're going to have had all these questions before, but I need to start. Okay. So, what's the point of being organised? I mean, as someone that's not organised, I love going into a charity shop and rooting around, finding all these unexpected pleasures, seeing something I didn't know I needed, coming home, shoving it in a pile somewhere, regularly falling over it, and then suddenly discovering it again. I mean, life is a series. I mean, my wife does accuse me of being a goldfish, and that helps. But, why be organised? What is the point?
Because when your home works, your life works. Your home is the foundation that has you able to go out in the world and do whatever it is you want to go out in the world and do, whether that, I'm not just talking about work here, I'm talking about play and relationships and everything that you want your life to be. Your home is the foundation that sits underneath that. And when it's working, you don't even really notice that. You don't notice that you've got this amazing firm foundation, like a springboard that lets you get out there and do what you want. But when it's not working, it really holds you back. And what has it not worked? Clutter is always a manifestation of external clutter, is always a manifestation of internal clutter. So all that stuff that's cluttering up your home is either an unfinished task or a decision that you've deferred, a decision that you don't know what to do about something, so you've just left it sitting there rather than make the decision. So in order to clear the clutter and get organised, you have to actually take those decisions and finish those actions, or make a conscious choice that you're not going to finish those actions and get rid of the stuff, so that you can actually get rid of the things that are lying around to remind you to do something, or because you haven't dealt with it yet. And in doing that, because all that clutter is these unfinished things, it gets your whole life working.
Stop
it. Go on.
All this organising stuff. Oh my God! But if I throw stuff out, I might need it one day.
Oh yeah, don't throw it out if you're going to need it.
Oh, I don't need to throw it out. Oh, that's all right then.
If you think you're going to need it one day, it's not clutter.
Well, I don't know. I might need it one day. I mean, one of those days I might lose weight and go back into that wardrobe. But there might be stuff from this podcast I might need to know in 17 years' time. Who knows?
You're right. And that fear of throwing something out and then regretting it holds a lot of people back from decluttering and organising. However, in my experience, when you look at all your stuff and you think, oh no, I don't want to declutter because I might throw out something and regret it, it prevents you from getting started. But if you focus down and be really systematic and go through things systematically, what I tend to find is it's actually fairly clear that there's stuff in there that you can deal with, take the actions, make the decisions, get rid of the stuff, or that you're clear you're never going to use again. And there's stuff that you're clear that you really, really do want to keep, which is great, keep it. And then there's a set of stuff that you're not sure about. And what I say about the not sure stuff is, in the session, as you're going through your stuff, put the stuff that you can't make a decision about to one side, finish going through everything else, go back to the not sure stuff at the end, and you might find now that your brain's worked on it in the meantime, and it's actually usually that's what I find is people that now find it very easy to decide one way or the other. And if you're still not sure, just keep it, because getting rid of it is irreversible, whereas keeping it isn't. And usually you've got rid of plenty. Everybody's got stuff in the house they're not sure about, including me. There's loads of stuff in this house that I look at and think, oh, I should probably get rid of that, but I don't. So long as your home works and you can find everything, you know where everything is, you've got enough space for everything, it's great. Keep the stuff that you're not sure about.
Okay. So my wife accuses me a lot of being slightly absent-minded. I regularly be ringing up and saying, I've forgotten my trousers, where's my wallet? I have rocked up without a computer at the office. I have, there's all that stuff that's going on. And I suppose that sort of mental confusion, is that part of living in some sort of mentally cluttered environment?
Yeah, and it's a vicious circle. It's hard to say which one causes the other, but the internal confusion will lead to external clutter, and then the external clutter will lead to internal confusion. I mean, when I ask people what's the worst thing about being cluttered, the thing people say most of all is not being able to find stuff, wasting time looking for stuff, buying stuff when you already had it, because either you've got it somewhere and you can't find it, or you've forgotten that you had it. Actually, that was what finally prompted me to do my entire declutter of my house, was that I bought a little bottle of correction fluid, and then a couple of weeks later I found one at the back of a drawer. And I'm very green-minded, and I hate to waste stuff. And I was horrified that I'd gone out and bought something that I already had. That's what was the tipping point that had me go through and declutter. So yeah, it enables you to find stuff quickly, and then you don't, and that doesn't feed on itself. You don't get that kind of cycle of being disorganised and then feeling stressed and then being more disorganised.
So I'm guessing in your world you come across people who are there's a sort of a bell curve, isn't there, in terms of people at one end who are massively organised, almost, without being the OCD end of it, but massively organised. You have people who are mostly organised enough, and then you have other people who are sort of utterly chaotic and all over the shop.
Yeah.
What's the most challenging group of people to work with?
That's an interesting question. I'd say the most challenging group is one I don't often end up working with, actually, which is people who don't really want to do it. So there have been a couple of times when I've been asked to get involved by social services because somebody's got hoarding tendencies and maybe there's a child in the house and the situation's not ideal for them. And the person that is hoarding doesn't really want to do it. They're doing it under some kind of duress. And that can be really difficult because it has to come from yourself. But in general, everybody that I work with, because they've brought me in, they really want to change something.
Yes.
So most people I don't find difficult to work with, and they all make really big strides forward. They all really make very, very positive changes.
And I guess so there's a sort of process in people's mind that says, I need to get organised. Well, I'll just get organised. Oh no, what I need to do is put off getting organised and bring in someone to organise me. Is that...
That's not such a bad plan.
Okay.
Because I'm a great believer in scheduling things.
Right.
People, including me, resist scheduling because we feel like it constrains us. And now, people do that, then now I'm not free to do something else if it comes up. But look, schedules can always be rescheduled. But once you've got something scheduled, it's going to happen and you can stop worrying about it. So instead of walking around trying to get on with your day with a whole load of things in your head, like, oh, I should be doing that, I should be doing, oh, I haven't done that, and oh, what about that, I'm still not getting around to that. If you've got it in your diary, even if it's for 6 months ahead, it's going to happen and you can stop worrying about it. So actually, saying to yourself, I need to get organised, I'm going to do this on Saturday. I wouldn't say try and get entirely organised on Saturday afternoon, but if you say I'm going to clear my desk on Monday morning, or I'm going to tidy out the kitchen on Saturday afternoon, and you put it in your diary, that little bit of procrastination makes it easier to do it when it actually comes to it, and you don't have to worry about it in the meantime. I'm going to do it Saturday afternoon, I'll do it then.
So that was exciting. I just threw something important on the floor because I'd lost it.
Knock it off your cluttered desk.
It fell off my cluttered desk, and now it's in the pile of clutter on the floor.
That's what we technically call a landslide.
The challenge here, though, is that a lot of people sort of are taking implication that people who are disorganised are dirty, and that's not necessarily true, is it? Well, and while you answer this question, I'm just going to get on my hands and knees and pull this back because it's the thing I'm making notes on.
No, in general it's not true, although it is very hard to keep a very cluttered space clean. So I would say a lot of people I work with, in fact, sometimes I'm amazed how clean people are able to keep their cluttered spaces. But usually once we start pulling the boxes out, there is quite a thick layer of dust behind, because it's just so difficult to clean around tons and tons of stuff. You've got to either clean sort of half around it, or you can't get to it at all. But no, it's definitely not the case that people who have clutter are slobby or that they like living in a dirty space. And often people are very bothered by the fact that they can't clean properly because of their clutter.
So the triggers to start thinking about this, or actually start doing some of this stuff, are forgetfulness, confusion, losing things, double purchasing, I suppose a sense of being out of control. I mean, it's all part of resilience, isn't it? And it's very interesting to see that this might be a trigger to help people to fix their environment. So if you're going to start somewhere, what's sort of a good do we need to rush out and buy some binders? Don't tell me.
Ooh. Don't rush out and buy anything.
Oh, I need some storage bins. Woo! No. So what's my?
That is one of the most common pitfalls around deciding you've got a big old decluttering project to do, is to start by buying storage.
Excellent. So tell me where would I start then, if not there?
So there's a few places you can start. Start somewhere that's really bugging you. Start somewhere that you use a lot. Start the first place you see when you walk in the house. Start somewhere where you can get a quick win, so you can get a really good result and you're going to feel great about it very quickly. Start where it's easy. Don't make life difficult for yourself. So start something like that. If you're completely stuck and you just do not know where to start, choose a corner of the worst room or the best room and work systematically from there. The key is to be systematic. The key is two keys really. One is not to take on too much. So don't try and do the whole house. Just do the surface of your desk or one drawer or one cupboard, one small cupboard, because it always takes longer than you think it's going to take. And do it systematically. Do it one item at a time so that you don't overlook anything in either direction. You can cherry pick thinking, that can go and that can go, but miss loads of other stuff that can go. Or you can cherry pick like, I can't get rid of that, I can't get rid of that, I can't get rid of that, and not notice the stuff that you could get rid of. So be really systematic. And it doesn't really matter where you start, so long as you start.
And so do I need to be prepared to have bags, take stuff down to charity shops, to the dump?
Yeah, there's like two aspects to that question. So the first is, you're going to probably be a good idea to have some containers to sort into. I mean, I sometimes just sort into piles, but containers can help because they stop the piles bleeding into each other and they're very clear what your categories are. So you're going to need something for rubbish, you're going to need something for recycling, you're going to need something for that not sure category. You're going to need something for actions because, like I said, you are going to find things that need doing because that's why this is there in the first place. And it's so important to actually take those actions. So at the end of the session, you need to think about when all those actions are going to happen and make sure that they are going to happen. You also a good idea to have a container for things that don't belong here. I'm keeping them, but they belong somewhere else in the house because that stops you going off to put them away and then getting distracted by other stuff around the house. So yeah, it's good to have some containers, but don't go out and buy any. I bet you've got plenty of containers.
Can always do with the new one.
Yeah. Wait till the end. When you finish going through everything, you'll have an idea of, you might need more storage, but then you'll know what you've got, you'll know what kind of storage you need, and you won't be buying storage just to fill it up again, because that's what will happen if you just go and buy storage, you'll just fill it up again. And there's something else I was going to say. I started off saying I've got two things to say about that, and I can't remember what the other thing was.
See, what I see? See, and you are organised. What can I say? That's the old secret of presentation skills, isn't it? When they say never say I've got 3 points. You count a 1, 2, and you go, and I can't remember what the third one is. It'll come back. You see, if you're working in a more disorganised way, it'll help you. I'll tell you what's making me chuckle actually inwardly is the thought of maybe two partners at home, one of whom is relentlessly organised and the other whom is not, because often opposites attract, don't they? And I'm wondering if you've come across that. Two
people living together, it can happen with parents and children as well, or just flatmates. Two people living together are going to have a different level of, I was going to say, tolerance for clutter, or what they regard as clutter. They're two different people, so they are going to see it differently. So it's kind of inevitable that clutter and stuff leads to arguments and tension in the home, and the greater the disparity between how they want the home or how comfortable they feel with stuff around them, the more likely that is to lead to arguments and upset. But that's another reason why decluttering and organising is so good for your mental health, because it does reduce stress and arguments in the home. For
one person, certainly.
Well, I mean, obviously it has to be taken on positively, but assuming that the person, so you've got two people and one's got a higher level of tolerance for stuff around than the other. If that person with the higher level thinks, no, I am up for this, I'm going to declutter, then it's going to reduce stress and upset in the home. If the person with the lower level of tolerance starts putting pressure on the person with the higher level of tolerance to get on with it, and they don't want to do it, well then that's where the stress and the tension comes. Yeah. It's a difficult one to negotiate for people.
It is, because you get that thing where the person that's obsessively neat then can be quite resentful about the fact that they're always doing work and cleaning up and tidying up, whereas of course the other person's saying, well, I'm just, allowing you to indulge in your passion, really.
Yeah, which is very unfair because it's not their passion isn't the cleaning and tidying. Their passion is having a nice house.
Yes.
What I say to people when the disparity is very big, and I mean I'm including in here people who live with people with hoarding tendencies, is you have to mark out sections of the house that are yours. You have to demarcate areas and say to that person, you can't put your stuff here. So for the bedroom is a very obvious place. You should have a space beside the bed that's yours. You should have a section of the wardrobe space and the drawer space that are yours, and surfaces that are yours and yours alone. And the other person's not allowed to put stuff in that. And if they do put stuff in it, you just move it out. You don't have an argument about it. You just move it back out, even if they don't like it, because you've got a right to that space in your home. And then I always say to the person who's the one that wants to be more tidy and more organised, you keep decluttering and organising. I know it feels like it should be them, but it's very easy when you live with someone who is further down a spectrum than you to just kind of put it all on them. So just keep decluttering and organising your own stuff. That might inspire them. They might see the benefits that come to you and they might want to join in which case help them, but don't sort of start doing it all for them. And they can't then say, well, you're as bad as me, you've got tons of stuff. Like, just keep your spaces really clear. Of course there are going to be some shared spaces, and then that's trickier. You have to set your boundaries and say what your rules are, and you have to have red lines around that, because it can be very, very difficult for people living with someone who's, when they're on the hoarding spectrum, it can be very, very impactful on the other person.
Sure. And I'm guessing in increasingly an age where one person or maybe both people work from home as well, that demarcation between your sort of professional office environment that may happen to be in your home and your home, which is also always going to be in your home. I mean, that's going to be interesting, isn't it? I've actually just managed to draw on my shirt whilst I'm still digging that stuff off the floor.
No, that's a really good one. That's one that I deal with because I work from home.
Exactly.
So and I think the one area of my home that can get quite cluttered is my desk, and it gets cluttered quite often that way. Like other aspects of my life start to creep into the office because the PC is here, and it's all set up for sitting and doing admin, and so things start to creep in here. So when that happens, I know in terms again of mental health, it's a great decluttering and organising can be a really good way to de-stress. When I feel stressed, one of the techniques I use to reduce my stress is to declutter something, and quite often that's my desk.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I'm just looking on your site, which we'll talk about a bit in a minute, but mygreenandtidylife.co.uk, and you've got some brilliant photographs of sort of before and afters.
Yeah.
And actually, what's most encouraging is actually the afters don't have to be completely perfect, do they? They just have to be better.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that, because those are totally real before and afters. They're not staged. A lot of the before and afters that you might see in magazines or on the telly are very staged. Those are absolutely genuine, where I've worked with somebody in their home and they've given me permission to share the before and after photo, which I mainly take for their own benefit so they can see the impact that they've made, because you really need to do before and after photos. You will forget within half an hour what it looked like by the time you've cleared it. So yeah, they're very real. And sometimes I get comments from people saying, oh, but they don't look any better after all. I wouldn't want to live in. But it's personal. The way each person wants their home is personal, and I'm not there to tell them how it should be. I'm there to help them to make their home the way they want it to be. And sometimes those after photos, it's not even exactly how they want it to be. There's more work to maybe they need to redecorate or get some more furniture, change their furniture or whatever. But that's really what it looked like before and after. And you can see how that would make a really big difference to somebody's life to be living in the after stage rather than the before stage.
So when you work with people, and what's your primary role? Is it to get people going? Is it the motivational aspect of someone arriving and therefore people need to take action? Is it to help people work out what the final vision is, or something else entirely?
It very much varies, actually. And I both work in people's homes, and I also work via Skype, or phone, and I also have a whole load of online products. So sometimes I'm not even physically there; they're using like a video course or something of mine. But with some people, it's literally that the fact that they're paying me and they've scheduled me to be there at a certain time will make them do it. Yeah. With some people, it's that they struggle to focus, and me being there can help them to stay focused and be systematic. Some people really need an objective foil for their decision making. Sometimes people don't even realise this themselves, but that's what I'm doing. It's like always the person who owns the stuff has got to be the one making the decisions. I can't make the decisions for them. So a lot of the time people they think I'm making the decisions, but I'm not. And at the end, they say, "Oh gosh, you really," and I'm like, "I didn't do anything."
Yes.
What I'm really doing is just being a foil for their decision making. So they might pick up something up and say, "Oh, I don't know what to do about this." And I say, "Well, tell me about it." And in telling me about it, they just naturally come to a decision.
Yes.
Sometimes my role is to stop people doing too gung-ho and throwing away all their valuable stuff.
Yes.
Sometimes people get a bit kind of carried away. They're like, "Oh, chuck it all out, chuck it all out." And I'm like, "Do you really want to throw away your wedding photos? I mean, you can, but are you sure you don't have to?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah, okay, maybe not." So it really varies from person to person.
So it's that sort of enabler, facilitator, coach,
Absolutely,
critical friend almost, that sort of,
Yeah.
I can imagine if you were, and I'm guessing also, I don't know if this is something you do. Do you help people organise the way they work themselves in their working lives, not just the physical environment, but at an operational level?
Yeah, of course, because as I was saying before about external and internal clutter being so linked, of course it links to organisation. So we quite often get into calendar management or financial management, because we start getting to all the tasks that people need to take in their life. I mean, I can even get into relationship issues with people. Yeah, it goes into, I see into all sorts of aspects of people's lives.
Fantastic. So I'm rampaging around your site, and I've had a good old rampage. So let's talk about that. And so if people want to get hold of you, I'm on the site called My Green and Tidy Life, all one word, .co.uk. Is that the best place, or are there other places to find you as well, Rachel?
That's a great place to start, and you can join Green and Tidy for free from that website. And when you do that, you get a free video course called The 7 Biggest Clutter Clearing Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. You get a short video, less than 2 minutes every day, telling you one of the big pitfalls around clutter clearing and how not to fall into that pitfall. And then you get a weekly message from me to motivate you and keep decluttering. So that's a great place to start. You can also find me on YouTube, Green and Tidy videos. I'm on Facebook, Green and Tidy, Twitter, Green and Tidy, Instagram, Green and Tidy Declutter. Is that all of them? Usually forget one, but I think those are the main places to find me.
Instagram normally is the other one, isn't it?
Did I not say Instagram? I thought I did.
Cool. I'm going to pretend you didn't.
I don't know whether I did or not. My biggest is probably YouTube in terms of social media, actually, because I can do little videos, obviously, on YouTube.
And I see on the site you've got a bunch of courses as well. So how does that work?
They're on a site called, I told you I'd forget one. They're on a site called Udemy, udemy.com. And I've got 4 video courses. They're Declutter Your Bedroom, Declutter Paper and Paperwork, Declutter Your Digital Life, get organised in your digital life, and organise your sentimental stuff.
Yes. That sounds great, but I am drawn to any picture of a teddy bear, so there you go. It worked for me.
Those 4 because they are the big ones for people. Like they're the ones that people always say they really need help with. Paperwork is a massive nemesis for so many people. Sentimental items, of course, and that's where people look at their stuff and they only see the sentimental items and they don't realise there's lots of other stuff there that they could deal with. Digital, I just found that's my newest course, and that was so much fun to make. Like, managing your email inbox and all those notifications and memos and things that we keep, managing all those. That was a really great one to get into. Yeah. And your bedroom, because it's your haven. It should be the place where you feel the most secure and happy and peaceful. And for a lot of people, it isn't. So I really wanted to transform that.
That's brilliant. And you've got some brilliant testimonials, obs, and there's some really sort of heartfelt stories on there. That's really brilliant. And I don't know. This is without Rachel particularly listening, but I hope you can sort of get a sense of Rachel's got a real sort of bounce and tons of personality. And I imagine working with her would be actually quite good fun as well. So it doesn't sound like it'd be too horrible.
I certainly enjoy it.
Good. All right. Well, look, Rachel, that's been brilliant. I can certainly see a link to resilience. I can see your point about mental health. I can see your point about stress management. I mean, even just the physical aspect of actually doing work and sorting things out. But as you say, that sort of potential mental clarity that comes afterwards, and it's an attractive thought. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, it feels so great. I was doing some cupboards in my own kitchen at the weekend. I just want to keep going and looking in them because it makes me feel so great when I see this lovely organised cupboard.
Yes, I know what you mean. When we did some spring cleaning recently, and we have marvelled at an empty cupboard that's all clean a few times actually, perhaps too much. Look, Rachel, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I think that's really interesting. There's a ton of really interesting and useful things. So thanks for taking time with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun.
No problem. You take care.
Take care.
We hope you found today's podcast useful. If you did, why not subscribe and listen to our other podcasts? We would love it if you could leave us a review. To access our resilience coaching, contact us at info@qedod.com. And finally, if you'd like to download our free resilience ebook, go to qedod.com/free ebook. Thanks for listening.